Welcome in to Channel BSR's post-game live. Here we are to talk about another Orioles loss. The Orioles dropped their second game in a row to the Texas Rangers. I'm Jake English from Bird's Eye View, Baltimore Sports Report. I'm here with Dylan Atkinson from Orioles Uncensored. Hello.
How we doing?
Well, I'd be doing a lot better if I hadn't just watched that game.
Oh, I know.
But overall, the Birds are okay. We'll say they dropped two in a row, which, according to Major League, two in a row is one thing. If it's three in a row, that's when it's a streak.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so we do this just about every time. We go through the box score and take some delightful or troubling trends. Let's just talk about it. Miguel Gonzalez not very impressive this evening. 4 1/3 innings. 8 hits allowed, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, 3 home runs against just 1 strikeout. Everybody hits for the Texas Rangers. Everybody had at least 1 hit in the lineup, but the real damage was done by Moreland with his 2 home runs with 4 RBIs also from Odor. RBIs actually from Chu, Fielder, as well as Chirinos. So not such a hot night for the Orioles, at least for part of the game, but they did make a valiant effort to come back. RBIs from Machado, 4 from Chris Davis with his 2 home runs, and 1 as well from Snyder. The Orioles did have the bat swinging. Unfortunately, the arms weren't in the mood to hold those leads. Lewis was the winning pitcher for the Rangers. He went 6 innings with 5 runs, 3 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. He gave up the 3 homers, but they didn't hurt him. Keela came on for an inning. Sheppers came on for an inning, and Tollison threw a dicey 9th inning for the save. On the other side, we talked about Miguel Gonzalez. Brad Brock had 2 2/3 innings, which I guess all you can say is that it saved the bullpen. Chaz Rowe threw an inning in which he gave up 2 earned runs, which is very unlike him, and ended up being, the deciding runs in the ballgame. And then Zach Britton came on too, as they say, get his work in. Not the best game at times to watch, but let me ask you, Dylan, what was your highlight for this game?
My highlight for this game, I guess you could say it was a comical highlight, besides the offense, which you already mentioned. My comical highlight was early in the game when Prince Fielder got his bases-loaded RBI single off Gonzalez. Jim Palmer referred to Fielder as the left-handed hitting Delman Young.
I see. Is that because he's so svelte?
What was that?
Is it because he's so svelte? He's a thin guy.
It's very thin. Very thin. I was surprised that he was actually referring to not the comparable sizes of the 2 players, but actually the swings, and very confusing, to say the least.
All right, my highlight for the game. My highlight for the game is a weird one because in the 6th inning, the Orioles had given up 6 runs and were down in the game, but it didn't feel over, which was kind of nice because there have been so many games this season, especially in May, where it seemed like even a 1-run lead was insurmountable. And here the team had given up 6 runs at that point, and they were still in it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, 6 runs wouldn't be enough. But that was the highlight for me, was not feeling like the game was over at the very beginning. All right, what about the low light for you? What was the low light for this game?
Low light, I definitely would have to say the dongs for all the Texas Rangers. I mean, just the Orioles pitching tonight was just not holding up its part. As you mentioned in the box score earlier, every Rangers hitter got a hit. And how many home runs was it by the Rangers tonight?
I think it was 4 home runs, 2 by Moreland, 1 by Chu, and 1 by Chirinos. Too many. Yes. Too many.
That's 4 too many.
Yes.
It was just a bad night from the pitching. Awful.
For me, it was the last at bat. And the last at bat was the Orioles' last gasp. They have runners on. They bring the tying run to the plate. And Buck Showalter looks at the batter that he has on the on-deck circle and looks down the dugout at his bench and says, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with Ryan Flaherty in this situation. And I'm not sure I love that decision. I know that Ryan Flaherty happens to swing the bat from the left side of the plate, and I know he had a pretty good week, but he was 0 for 3, and I don't trust him in that situation.
I completely agree with you there. I mean, it's something that we talked about earlier before we came on air. It seems that Buck is definitely going with Nolan Reimold in a strict platoon situation, only batting him against lefties when he doesn't have that drastic of platoon splits. He actually bats pretty well against the righties. So right there, I would definitely trust Reimold a whole lot more in that spot. Even if he struck out there, I would be happy with the call from Buck Showalter there.
Absolutely. I mean, at that point, I say unload your bench and find a hitter who you have a little bit more confidence in as a professional hitter. I mean, just off the top of my head, we had Pierce, we had Delman Young, and we had, as you mentioned, Nolan Reimold on the bench.
Even Caleb.
Yeah, the other guys I was going to say is Caleb Joseph and David Lowe. I'm not sure I'm into those three, but those other three, I wanted somebody else besides number 3 at the plate, and I didn't get it.
Just make some sort of attempt to win a ball game there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the highlights and the lowlights. Let's go through a couple of the notes that we had. I want to talk about something on the defensive side of the ball, and that is Adam Jones's arm. Mm-hmm. I think we saw at least 2 plays tonight where he had to make competitive throws from the outfield. What did you see tonight from Adam Jones, and is he back?
The one that I saw from Jones tonight, the situation was runners on first and second for the Rangers. There's a fly ball Jones in center field, just shading towards the right side. Hamilton was tagging it from second base. It seemed like a ball that usually Jones would definitely try to gun a guy out at third base. He made the catch and made a lazy throw back into second base. It was a little bit puzzling for me at first, and then I remembered about the shoulder. So I don't think that Jones is 100% back yet.
He also ranged to his left and stopped the ball in right center later in the game and had to fire it in quickly. It was only a throw to second base, so it wasn't that far. And I'm not really sure if it was a play that even at his best he would have made to beat a runner. But I did take note of it. He wasn't shaking his arm or giving it the J.J. Hardy roll afterward. But it is something that we should keep an eye on throughout the rest of the games in this series and moving forward. Jones wasn't exactly rushed back to the starting role or the defensive role in center field, but it's something I'm interested to see. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the offense for the Orioles because there was a little bit to see. Chris Davis looked amazing tonight. We may never see him again in his 2013 glory, but for tonight, it was a pretty good impression, wasn't it?
It was beautiful. I mean, we've seen in last year and this year, Chris Davis takes some absolutely horrendous cuts at balls. And it only looked like, what are you swinging at? But, like, what was that swing in general? But when he's hitting balls like that, it's one of the most beautiful swings in all of baseball. He looked amazing tonight.
It also reminds you that Chris Davis has the ability to take over a game. And at one point it was, Texas Rangers 4, Chris Davis 4. And when the Rangers went ahead by 2, I said, oh, it's okay. We got Davis coming up in another couple of innings, and I'm sure he'll make this right. But again, majestic moonshots, wonderful to see from Chris Davis. Also, Davis, I feel like, is feast or famine, and he didn't strike out tonight either. He didn't have, the 3 true outcomes, so to speak. So just a good game from him. Let's talk about Manny Machado. Manny Machado also hit a home run. I'm not sure what more this guy can do right now.
He has been one of the hottest hitters, if not the hottest hitter in all of baseball in June. It really makes me sad that July is tomorrow because we don't know what he'll bring in the month of July. It's sad to see that his June is coming to an end now. Hopefully he can keep it going through July. But it's definitely been a pleasure to watch him. He's definitely been able to turn his gap-to-gap power into definite home run power now. It looks like he's on pace for over 30 home runs this season.
Yeah, I think I saw something earlier today saying that he was on pace for 194 hits, 30 home runs, and in the upper 80s or lower 90s for RBIs. So, they always use that on pace for, and if the season ended today, cliches, but it's all we've got to go on, and it looks really good. His home run tonight was an oppo to right field, just a good swing that carried out. And boy, it is good to see. He was Player of the Week, AL Player of the Week last week. So he is getting some recognition. You had a note here about Matt Wieters and his strikeout in the sixth inning. I was wondering if you could go a little further on that.
All right. I saw Wieters strike out in the bottom of the sixth, and as he followed through on the swing, I saw a grimace in his face as he reached for his right shoulder or trap, whatever it was. They showed him later on back in the dugout when he went to put on his gear, and he was still kind of grimacing about it, moving it around and everything. So I think it's definitely something to keep our eye on to see if Wieters is okay.
Yeah, you got to think that Buck Showalter would have pulled him if anything was going on, because Matt Wieters being out of the lineup, we see what that looks like, and we'd rather not have it happen. But yeah, it might be the case where Caleb Joseph gets a couple of days in a row, and Matt Wieters, if there's anything going on with that shoulder or trap, gets a couple of days to get some treatment, get some rest, that kind of thing. It would be a bad time to lose him again, both for the Orioles and for Matt Wieters' contract situation.
Oh, yeah, definitely agree there. I mean, if he goes down on the DL again, he may end up looking at a Nelson Cruz type contract in the offseason, a 1-year deal to reestablish his value.
Well, that's a terrible situation unless it's the Orioles, and then in which case I wholeheartedly approve.
Same here.
From the Orioles offense, we also saw 14 in a row retire between the fifth inning and the last out of the ninth. It's kind of interesting because, again, I applauded the Orioles for not having the game be over, and then they just shut down in the middle. After Manny Machado's leadoff home run in the fifth inning, they were very, very quiet until a last gasp effort. I feel like that happens with this team sometimes. Sometimes they roll over and shut down. And it would be awfully nice if they had strung together some of these hits that they got in the ninth before their last chance.
I totally agree there. I mean, we saw especially the transition from April to May and then back to June, how streaky this lineup can be as a whole. Pretty much when one guy's hitting, everybody else is hitting, and the other way around. When they're not hitting, nobody else is hitting. It definitely would have been nice to get those hits along earlier in the game before the ninth inning. But at the same time, knowing how streaky this lineup is, they still pretty much did their job tonight. They put up 6 runs. I still got to hang this loss on the pitching staff.
Absolutely. Last thing with the offense, and then we'll turn over to that wonderful pitching staff of ours, and that is base running in the ninth inning from Travis Snider. Travis Snider has been known to make some boneheaded plays and specifically boneheaded outs on the base paths, and tonight he made an attempt to steal second base with 2 outs and Ryan Flaherty at the plate. What's going on there? That is not even an important run.
I honestly have no clue. And earlier I thought it may have come from Buck Showalter off the bench, but then I had to remember how terrible of a base runner Travis Snider is and realize that had to be all on him there. Luckily he was safe, but definitely was not a smart move. If he would have gotten thrown out there, I can pretty much guarantee that he would be riding the pine for the next couple games.
Can you even imagine the outcry on Orioles social media and local radio the next day if that had been the way that this game ended?
People hate Travis Snider enough on defense, on offense, even though he's been producing on both of those sides. People hate on Travis Snider already enough that would just be icing on the cake for them.
Yeah, unless it's a gnome night, he's not quite as effective.
Hey, Dez did not catch it, but Travis Snider did.
All right, well, let's stop beating around the bush. Miguel Gonzalez, not a good start. What did you see from him?
Just missing his spots all over. I mean, I saw a few pitches to both Moreland and Hamilton where we were looking to locate on the outside corner, and he just threw it middle in, and it was either a base hit or a home run. Just very, very poor command. Failed to get ahead on strike one a lot of the times. Left a lot of the balls up and everything. It was as of lately, he hasn't been as good as he was to start the season. I believe now, after we've been praising him to start at the start of the season, he's now got a above after a night. So definitely something to keep our eye on to see if the FIP is catching up to him, or if it's just a little bit of a slump.
Yeah, his last 4 starts have been a little rough. 4 1/3, 5 innings, and then 4 1/3. He's really got to get it together, particularly because if the Orioles are going to be a team in contention, the rotation has to give it enough to hand it over to the bullpen, which obviously wasn't the case this evening. I think you nailed it when you said missing his spots and just poor command. He couldn't get it over, and when it did, it was a very, very hittable pitch. He had a very near disastrous 3rd inning, managed to squeal out of it. But then the 4th inning was just, it was too much for him. Brad Brock came in and, no more damage per se, but he was not as nasty as I'd like to see. You so rightly pointed out that Miguel Gonzalez was not getting ahead of batters, but I didn't think Brad Brock was particularly sharp this evening. I saw him get behind a lot of batters as well. But again, no harm, no foul. Chaz Rowe is human. Did you know that?
He did not row his boat tonight. It was
that's good work.
He was not rowing along tonight. It happens every once in a while. Just really wish it wasn't tonight. I really wish it could have been maybe last night when the Orioles were not scoring runs. We were already out of the game and everything. Just pour it on there. But on a game like tonight, those are ones that you're really counting on Rowe.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's been one of the guys that's come through, so it's just an odd night that happened. Also, we had Zach Britton come on in a non-save situation. It was like the anti-save. He came in the 9th inning with his club down by 3 runs. Not sure that's how that save rule works. But he had a very efficient 9th inning, was mowing them down. One of the things that we've talked about here on this program, and I know that our colleague Zach Wilt over at Baltimore Sports Report is very fond of talking about right now, is Zach Britton having a couple of close scrapes and busy 9th innings, but he looked good tonight.
Yeah, he looked outstanding tonight. I think usually in non-save situations, he hasn't been that great, but tonight it was good just to get him out there and get as good of an inning as he had. The past few outings that he did get the save in, just got a little bit roughed up, walks, hits, everything. So tonight, hopefully, is a little bit of a restart for him.
Absolutely. All right, well, that'll do it for the game. It's a bummer. The offense scored 6 runs and wasn't good enough. But again, they've got 2 more games against the Rangers. Let's talk about our bottom line takeaway. What does this game do for you?
What does this game do for me? I'm looking to trade for all the pitching in the world right now. I mean, we know that the offense can score runs. We know the defense can play ball. It's definitely gonna take some pitching to go to the end. I mean, I don't know how much longer we can rely on Ubaldo and Chen to carry the rotation, and I don't know how much longer we can try and hope for comebacks of Tillman and Norris. So what tonight's telling me is we need a little bit more pitching.
Well, Dan Duquette apparently was just interviewed and said that if the team is in contention, he will again go out and make expensive moves to keep this team in contention. So, from your lips to God's ears. My bottom line takeaway for this game is that on Bud Norris t-shirt giveaway night, everybody pitches like Bud Norris. Maybe that was not the best of ideas. Perhaps we should pick a little bit better a role model for our giveaway evenings. I'm fine with the gnomes, but you start letting Bud Norris wear all over the park, and suddenly the balls just fly.
I love it.
All right, so tomorrow we've got Wei Yin Chen against Nick Martinez, and we're not going to pretend to know a whole lot about Nick Martinez, but before we got on the air, we were pulling him up. What can you tell us about Nick Martinez and what he's going through this season?
He started off the year really hot. In April and May combined, he only had 2 starts where he allowed 3 earned runs. Other than that, it's 2 earned runs or less. Start off the season really hot. June has not been as kind to him. He's had 2 starts with 7 and 8 earned runs each. He's been a little bit roughed up in the month of June. Hopefully, he keeps his June streak up in July tomorrow.
Absolutely. All right, well, that'll do it for us here on Postgame Live for Channel BSR. Again, my thanks to Dylan Atkinson. Dylan, thanks so much.
I appreciate it every time.
The Orioles lose 8-6 and are in hashtag Ranger danger of losing the series tomorrow. We'll be back. It's terrible. We'll be back on Tuesday, hopefully with a much more upbeat show and some lovely totals to share. For Dylan, I'm Jake English from Bird's Eye View. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.